So we're starting first. There we go. Okay. Hey, folks, we're going to call this meeting to order. Welcome any and all visitors, and welcome any and all public comment that's unrelated to any of our agenda items this morning. Does anybody have any comments they'd like to make? Is that a yes?
No, she was communicating.
Oh.
She was communicating with me.
Okay.
It's an illuminating question.
All right. None being said, we're going to go to Scott for the changes to the agenda.
Under other business, I'd like to add the economic consultants agreement renewal.
Other business.
7.
So, all right. And we're going to start this off immediately with the discussion on the Route 9 water and sewer expansion project. We have Wayne Elliott with us today. Scott, I'm sorry, I took your thunder away.
You're
Oh,
on.
I'll
Yes,
have another 20 cups of coffee.
it worked very nicely, I think.
Okay.
So the select board to possibly approve short-term recommendations outlined in the Aldrich and Elliott memorandum from May 17th, 2024. As you remember, this is a follow-up to the select board meeting on April the 25th. And the board has asked Aldrich and Elliott to address potential concerns raised regarding the water quality and capacity as part of the Route 9 water line extension project. So Wayne is on. We have Chris Lavoie from the water department here and any others. How would you like to go?
Just briefly discuss, I think, the recommendations, I think a little bit more in depth, maybe from Wayne.
Wayne? You on mute?
Still muted. There you go.
I'm having a little hard time hearing you. I can carefully, so.
Turn up.
Of course, this is a result of the last meeting here, and I probably won't drill into the details too much here, but the first 2 or 3 pages of the memo kind of talk on the water quality and some different options that we have
Volume
there.
up, guys.
Wayne, we can't hear you.
Yeah. I've
We're
got
having a
my
little-
audio all the way up. I'm not sure.
That's a little better.
Okay, yeah, we turned off the air conditioning. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got mine all the way up, so let me. We've been having issues with Teams and stuff the last couple of weeks with some of the switchover too.
Bless you.
So as a result of the last meeting we had, we put this memo together, and the first 2 or 3 pages maybe gets a little bit technical, but we're just trying to discuss some of the potential options here for addressing the concerns with the water quality and quantity, as part of the Route 9 water extension. I'm not going to get into probably the details of this too much, but maybe just kind of generally kind of how I frame the short-term recommendations is one of the benefits we have as part of the asset management plan. We did put a hydraulic model together for the system. Typically that can be run to kind of verify available flow and pressure for fire flow. But the other nice thing about that model, it can be expanded to also assess some of the water quality issues or concerns. So that kind of leads into the short-term recommendation. Number 1 is this is the perfect time of year to really do some sampling and get some more data on the chlorine residual for the operations. And so if we collect some of that data here over the next 3 or 4 months, what we can do is we can actually plug that into the model. We can add the new water line extension into the model as it would be built. And if we have that data, we can input that actual sampling results for the chlorine residual, and we can see how that's going to carry out to Route 100 and kind of the extents of those pipelines, and see how that changes or potentially changes. And we can also run various demand scenarios too, so we can start at the beginning and run it on a relatively low demand and a higher demand. So that's a great tool to really kind of better assess and kind of see what could occur, you know, once this is constructed and placed into operation. The second one here, as we've talked about, which is a great thing to really experiment for flexibility, as we talked when we went through the asset management plan. Again, water age is a concern. You know, you typically like to keep it under 3 to 5 days. You really have more storage volume in that reservoir than what you really need. So that doesn't help kind of the disinfection byproduct and some of those water quality issues, even in the existing system, especially where you have the dead end lines. We do need to make sure you can meet your current contact time, but you can physically run off one side, especially this time of year, and still meet the you know, the design criteria for your average day demands and fire flow. So one of the recommendations is to seriously consider a change in operating mode, and that could be tried this year, could be waited on, but that's a very simple, kind of easy way to help to improve the water quality by reducing the volume of water that's in that reservoir that's going out for usage. Item number 3, the next one, as we talked about last time with the water line extension, fire flow protection is not a requirement. You know, and one of the challenges here is we are trying to extend fire flow. That's the way it's designed currently to the ends of the water line, proposed water line, both on Route 100 and Route 9. Having a larger 8-inch line, you have to have a minimum 8-inch diameter pipeline to provide fire flow. So that in itself kind of makes it more challenging in those early years until we have some demand, because you got more water in that pipe, you know, once it leaves and we get into that extension. My recommendation, I guess, at this point is we still go with 8-inch out to the intersection, go 8-inch south on Route 100. But we're really not expecting much demand kind of from the intersection back east up to Battle Hill. So my recommendation is to reduce the size of that pipe from 8-inch to 4-inch. You would still be able to provide domestic demands up through there. And you would have fire protection at the intersection of 9 and 100. But again, what we're trying to do is reduce the volume that's sitting in that pipe. And especially, again, it's more of a concern in those early years. So that's the third recommendation. And then the last one, which has already been kind of initiated and I think is generally kind of complete, is we've talked about, you know, we looked at the options back with a study about creating a separate water system out in this area. That's really not the preferred approach, especially where you have municipal water in relatively close proximity. You need storage out there. You need all the components. You know, it's another permit. It's additional water quality sampling. So, you know, my approach here is this is a great opportunity, I guess, for the town to possibly look at a new future water source out in that area. So that's really kind of the basis of the recommendation number 4. Don't necessarily need that now, but it depends how quickly some of this new development is going to occur over the next few years. But it's a great opportunity because it opens up the potential for, you know, building, constructing, permitting a new drilled well or even a couple drilled wells, because you've got proximity, you've got piping and those kind of infrastructure close by to easily connect to. And that's already been in progress to kind of look at the properties and the potential sources that are available out there.
Any questions?
I have some questions. Can you just explain split chlorination a little better? I didn't really understand that.
Sorry, I'm not sure. I didn't totally hear your question.
Can you explain split chlorination a little better? I just didn't understand it.
What about, sorry, about the chlorination?
Split, he's asking about the split
chlorination. Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
That's something that actually I was communicating with the state, the water supply, and that's something that they recommended that could be an option. And basically what you would be doing is adding less chlorine where you do now prior to the storage reservoir, and then kind of supplementing out of it. That's a good way to kind of help manage some of the disinfection byproduct stuff, address some of the water age issues. That's probably not preferred at the moment though, because, you know, that's obviously adding additional infrastructure and those kind of things. We need to make sure that if we added the chlorine downstream of the reservoir, that you need to still, I guess it depends whether it's supplemental. We'd have to double check and make sure possibly the chlorine contact time, but basically you would still be doing as you are now, but adding a lesser rate and then supplementing that again, kind of boosting it back up after the reservoir. But that's going to take some infrastructure. That's going to take extension of chlorine lines. I would say before you get to that point, to me, it would make more sense to add mixing in the reservoir. Because what happens right now, you get a lot of volume of water sitting in each of those cells, and they make what we call an active mixer. It's a low horsepower. The contents in there aren't really mixed right now. You know, it comes in, it kind of goes out, they're short circuiting. So I guess my 2 cents, if you ever got to that point, that's a ways down the road, but I would probably look at adding mixing in each of those cells versus kind of jumping into the split chlorination. And we were just trying to kind of vet all the potential options here to kind of address some of the concerns, but that's probably kind of a last resort at the moment.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm somewhat baffled that we aren't already sampling and modeling and only using one of the tanks, one of the cells in the storage tank. Those seem like obvious solutions to some of the issues that have been raised.
But you're gonna have to go.
I can speak to that. The one use cell, because there's no baffles in the cells themselves, it's an 810,000 gallon tank, but we're only credited with 243,000 gallons of contact time in that tank. So when you go to the one cell usage, your contact time has gone down to 162. 121,500 gallons of credited time. So during a fire flow event, when you're pumping 1,500 gallons a minute for 2 hours, and you also have your daily usage, you would have a contact time right now of 162 gallons a minute. Using half of the tank, you'd only have 81 gallons of contact time. And in summertime months, that'd be borderline water temperatures and chlorine values, whether or not you'd have adequate contact time for disinfection. And once you don't have that, you'd be giving out boil water notices, and 2 back-to-back events would equal an empty tank, and that wouldn't be good either. As far as the split chlorination, I just wanted to mention that it's not a bad idea, except for, especially with one cell usage, you wouldn't have the contact time. You'd have even less contact time using the lower level in the tank and then boostering it outside the tank. There was another part of
Well, I also asked about sampling and modeling. I'm a little baffled that we're not sampling and modeling.
modeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what this asset management plan is working on doing, the modeling.
Right, but I mean, it seems like, you make claims that there won't be sufficient chlorination, but we're not sampling and modeling, so how do we know, really?
Because I have charts that I do monthly reports, and I see the data for daily usage.
But why aren't we sampling and modeling? I
don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's one of Wayne Elliott's.
We sample every day, 3 times a day.
Where?
At the reservoir.
Where at the reservoir? Well, no, because he says.
At the first,
because he recommends
the first tap,
testing chlorine residual exiting the storage tank. Chlorine residual at the end of the existing 12-foot water line on Route 9. Chlorination concentration entering the storage tank. So that's why I'm asking.
We do everything the state requires. We sample for chlorine 3 times a day at the first point of entry leaving the distribution tank. And we're only required to sample for chlorine out in the distribution system once a month by state regulations.
And Chris, those samples are taken at what source? What is the location that you would be taking those?
Out in the distribution system?
Hmm.
That's at our bacteria sampling points, which varies monthly. We actually have one base point, 3 sample points, and we rotate sample points monthly. So
Give us, I mean, what's an example of where you might?
our base point is this building here. It's
Okay.
in the center of town. We have one out on the west end of town, one on the east end of town, one on the north end of town.
So they're like physical locations that.
Yeah, and they're the same location every month as required by the state of the water.
Wayne, can you give us an idea, I mean, based on your recommendation and the AMP plan and trying to merge those together, what is the frequency of the sampling that you would be looking for in order to impact the modeling that you're talking about?
I haven't thought through that, and kind of to clarify a little bit, what we're talking about doing is doing additional sampling that's not required regulatory wise. That's something I would talk with Chris a little bit about what he's doing now, to kind of nail in a frequency, a couple, 3 additional locations. Like, for example, we would definitely want to sample at the hydrant at the very end of the existing line on Route 9. So just to make sure he's got access to those points, and we're kind of make sure we're consistent how we do that. So that would be additional sampling above and beyond, what he's currently doing.
So
Yeah,
so we could get you together and come up with a plan. Okay.
Yep.
in a form that would say frequency and locations that you want where the chlorine would be sampled from, and I put my best man on it.
So,
Your best
so
man.
Wayne, could you respond to Chris's comments about using only one cell, please?
Not sure you mean about which one, the use of the cell.
Yeah, the storage.
That's one thing I would want to get clarification on from water supply. I've always interpreted the contact time to really be at your domestic peak demand condition, not necessarily a fire flow protection division. So that's typically the way we've used that. If you had the mixing and some of that, you kind of get away with the short circuiting, so you have a lot more time. But that's one thing I would want to get clarification. I have not aware of kind of using that scenario with the fire flow protection is counting against the chlorine contact time. So I'd want to get clarification on that from drinking water first.
I just would want to point out that in that example here on 2A is 2 back-to-back events would be using 520,000 gallons of water in a tank that holds 405,000 gallons of water.
And how many back-to-back events have we had in the last decade?
Well, that's not what we planned for.
How many back-to-back events?
You
have we
tell
had?
me, John.
I don't know. You're the
I'm not the expert on fire events in this town.
Oh.
Maybe Scott here.
All right.
Well, Chris, we don't need any animosity here today, but what we're looking to do is, do you feel that this is going to be adequate and we're going to be fairly safe to proceed with the project? I mean, we want the project to go forward.
I think you should have the project go forward. I've just, the only thing I asked was that you look into the very beginning note here says there is not another better solution to provide water service to this area. Well, there is. It's drilling a well. Now, Hoffer Consulting Company just came back with their report that shows a cluster of good well locations that provided good wells right there in the beginning of the project area.
Okay.
So, there's that.
So that would be used if needed, correct?
Well, here's the thing, you're gonna need it as soon as you get some development out there. Because the water that you have and the way you filter it isn't going to sustain itself financially. And you're gonna look to drill a new well or put in a different filtration system. So you're gonna drill the well anyways.
Mhm.
So why try to tweak what you already have with mechanical aeration or mixing one cell, what, trying to tweak what you already have that works very well for the system that's supporting. But once you get a bunch of additional flow, you're gonna need a new well. And I'm just
But
saying,
but
you're better off. to drill the well.
can't we phase that in as development occurs? Or is
And
that a
then
wise
then you're
decision?
putting the total expense onto the 260 connections that you have here, and the town's not paying. The town's paying for this, but they're not paying for the future expenses.
I'm always thinking grants, Chris, that's what, that's way I'm looking at. That's. Sometimes we're not always alone, I guess, with these grant programs, so.
Oh,
How close are we to,
excuse me?
how close are we to needing a new water source or a different water source? Like when you say when we
Well-
need development out there, how much?
I don't have those numbers exactly in front of me, but I think Wayne knows as well that it all looks good on paper. You're not that close at all. Well, that's because you'll be using lake water, your permitted lake water. It's just that lake water doesn't run through the filters as well as other water. It clogs the filters faster. So permitting wise, you're not very close to needing the new source at all. But once you start having to get into that other water, financially, it's not going to be sustainable. Or, you're certainly not going to pay for the filters that you're going to use with the revenues that you're going to produce 15 or 20 connections. That is.
All right.
But again, I just want to say that, once you start getting that usage and you're going to need the new well, I'm just saying, why don't you think about drilling the well? Because it's better quality water, groundwater is better quality water than surface water. And it's more affordable to pump it out of the ground and put it in a pipe than it is to pull it out of the lake and filter it, chlorinate it, and raise the pH adjustment with it. There's a lot more. There's a lot more to do with the surface water over here than it is if you were pumping it out of the ground. I mean, I want to see you do your expansion and work on that end of town and everything. I'm just trying to point out that you do have two options. There seems to be water out there, and from my point of view, working the system for 30 years, looking at chlorine residuals and all of that your better choice is to think about drilling a well that you're going to have to drill eventually anyways.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, please?
Go ahead, Joey.
If we drill the well that you've discussed, would the well be able to support an 8-inch pipe for fire protection as well? That's been discussed here, going on that end of town.
Yep, you certainly, if you had the storage tank, you need a storage tank. And so either way you do go about putting water in the pipe out there,
Yeah.
the cost of the infrastructure in the ground is going to be the same. The new well will be the same, whether you do it now or later, or actually later, it'll just be more expensive. We all know that. And then
I guess on a storage tank
So the
wouldn't need
storage,
chlorine,
the whole storage tank thing, that's the additional cost.
the storage tank,
The storage
but
tank.
that would not need chlorine if it was only well water. Is that correct?
That's the way it's set up right today.
Okay.
And part of that storage tank could actually be paid off if, Wayne was saying that, you don't need to have fire protection out there. So you could offset the cost of the tank by, not offering, fire protection, using a smaller, pipe in the ground, 4-inch versus 8-inch. And you'd also save the cost of the hydrants. And as far as a new storage tank will be required and will make the water quality issues even worse. That seems that seems so wrong, because you can apply the same flushing. You can apply the same things that he's trying to apply to the existing water system. Like you could fill the tank half full instead of, because you don't have to worry about contact times. So you wouldn't have stale water. You use the flushing, use the tank half full or quarter full until the demand picks up.
Thank you.
You look at Chimney Hill, they don't have hydrants. You know, they have 2-inch lines. Ground.
Wayne?
Yeah, just to add the question about the, so if you do a new well or wells out at that end of town, it's gonna depend a little bit on the water quality, but let's assume the water quality is good. You wouldn't have to do any treatment. You could do treatment at that location if it was required. If you had to do chlorination out there, you know, you'd have a small building with chlorine. You'd have to make sure you meet the contact time, but you would go right into the existing piping on Route 9. You do not need storage. So basically you would run the well off the existing reservoir levels. And one of the benefits of that is you got water going in both directions. So that would actually help some of the age water quality issues in that pipe. So, you know, when your reservoir level is down a little bit, it's going to call for water, would turn the well pump on. The well pump would pump right up to the existing reservoir. So you do not need additional storage out there. And your fire protection is going to be provided off the existing reservoir storage tank like it is now.
Where would the connection for the well be on the water system?
Depends on the site, Scott. You know, you would just run the connection right over to Route 9, kind of the closest point, just interconnect into that, you know, the new pipeline that's going to be running by.
Oh, so it doesn't actually matter that it's on an end or?
No,
Okay.
It doesn't. Because basically what the well's going to do is, you know, the pressure hydraulic grade line is dictated by the water level in the reservoir. So we would design the well pump to be able to get the water up at that elevation so that it can push it through the distribution system and get it up to the reservoir. That's kind of the least point where it needs to get to.
Did you see Hopper's?
Flow condition, you're just going to pull that off the reservoir like you do now.
Hopper's consulting, their report?
Yeah, we just got it, Chris, just like you did.
Yeah. So, actually, because we're talking about water quality in their report, the water quality for the wells out there are pretty good. I don't know if you have read their report or not.
Yeah, I read it.
It just seems to be pretty good water out there.
That's a great positive note here today.
Yeah. Seem to be sitting at a table, half empty glass there. So. Like to point out positives.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I have a question. You might know this for the grant, but if we did go the route of.
Can you speak up, please? Just a minute.
If you did go the route of buying land identifying a place, buying land, going through the permitting. Would the grant pay for that or not? Is it just for the existing? Okay, so this is outside the scope.
Right, yeah, those are specific dollar amounts,
Mhm.
so it would be above and beyond. My concern is we might end up losing the money because that alters. So, and we could continue on with, permitting and easements, I think permitting, right, Wayne?
I'm not sure Wayne can hear you, Chris.
Here.
He's,
So, you know, like, we could continue on with, getting easements, I believe, and permitting. Is that right, Wayne? Yeah. And hopefully, you know, still be in construction next year, because that is the main goal, because we can, you know, these grant funds have to be used up. So, and we have to use them quickly. So that's my concern, is not meeting those and then we end up not getting those funds. And we're in a difficult position.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add, Chris?
No, any questions for me?
No, I don't have any.
I guess only other thing I would add is when you were commenting a couple of meetings ago about the water system being all dead ends and it's never been any problem so far. The water system is probably over 50% looped now as it is. So just to bring you up to date a little bit on the system that you guys are governing.
No, I thought that question came up that since we weren't going to have it circular at the end of Blue Hill, it would be a very difficult time to do any back flushing or do whatever they. And of course, we said the same thing, that the way it's set up in town right now, it's exactly that way.
Not all dead ends. No, 50% of the system now is looped.
It is looped.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And the problem that I'm having is that you're taking the longest dead end that we have and more than doubling it. And that raises all the concerns that I had wrote in the letter.
Okay, well, that wasn't clear, I don't think, of course, when we.
Well, that's why I just want to clear that up, because there's a lot of information that I don't think that you guys are getting. And you're not asking, so I'm just trying to help you understand.
You helped us out a great deal. Thank you very much. Right, yes, John.
Scott or Scott Bill from the fire department just would like to relay that they would ideally love to see us continue with at least an 8-inch. Early on in the process, they had actually asked to go from 8 to 12-inch for fire protection for the White House, for the big barn. So just if you're making a final decision today, their opinion, they would love to see all of it continue at an 8-inch size for fire protection. And we don't know what could happen on the Blue Hill section, but if we have a 4-inch line in there and something does build in there, now we don't have a big enough. And things only get more expensive down.
no, but you have a hydrant at the intersection.
Yes, but it doesn't mean fire. 4-inch does not mean
No,
like 4-inch.
no, you have an 8-inch, going
Not
to
at
the
the end of Blue
hydrant.
Hill, if you get the memo says.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is your connection point is at the intersection with the 8-inch. Is that not
Yes.
correct?
Well, from the intersection to Blue Hill, it's a 4-inch line.
No, I understand. That's the recommendation. Yes,
Right.
that I understand.
The fire department would like to see it continue 8-inch all the way to Blue Hill. Bottom line.
Anyone else?
I think Gretchen does.
Yeah. So there's a lot of talk about low usage in the beginning. What is low usage? What is that measurement? Is it, 50% of the properties? Is it, what's the definition of low usage?
directing a question to me, Gretchen, or?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's a little more complicated. It's not necessarily the number of properties that are gonna connect initially. It's a matter of kind of who connects,
the usage,
you know,
right?
because once we start where that new line goes, we have potentially 8-inch all the way through there. We have a certain volume of water in there. So it's gonna depend on the type of usage initially. Is that, you know, residential, is it commercial, how much? So a little bit more of a function on who connects when, I think, Gretchen, and also where too, because you know, I think we've got some potential good connections along Route 9, maybe along the south end of 100, but some of those, there may not be a whole lot of demand. So it's not to kind of skirt, it's a little bit more complicated. It's kind of who connects and then also where.
Right, understandable. Thanks.
And how many? I mean, Chris is talking about 20 connections. I think there's 26 properties, but we don't know how much usage is going to be. We don't know what's going to develop on each of those locations.
We know 13 properties are going to connect right away.
Right, but what
But
I'm
to
saying
go
is,
into what the usage is of all of those.
you know,
I-
you won't
no, I
know
have
until
to
they
take a few
develop
minutes
it.
to do that.
For instance, if there's housing that's developed, that is more usage than a single building or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Right, anyone else? Scott,
My suggestion is, looking at the recommendations right now, is to put Chris and Wayne together on number 1 and number 2. It sounds like the sampling data is something we should do, and they have to figure out how to do that. In terms of the storage reservoir, that is calling for experimentation. And again, I think Wayne and Chris can discuss that further and come up with perhaps a way to test that, maybe through, sounded like Wayne need to go back to the state, number 1. Number 2, I think everybody needs to talk together to determine whether or not we could try that as a pilot and see how it works, especially with the summer coming on, because I think the recommendation was try it in the summer. It may not be necessary in the winter months. In terms of the 4-inch diameter up from the intersection to Blue Hill, I'll leave that for your call. I think Wayne needs a decision. Is that correct, Wayne? That's one we need a decision on to finish the planning process on that. I'm not swayed one way or the other. I understand 8-inch would be preferable, but I also understand there's a hydrant at the intersection when there isn't one there now, and that would be better for fire protection than what's there now. I would just leave that up to the Water Commission to determine on that. And number 4 is in progress. That's the report you have now. I think that's a discussion for later time. I see that. I think I'm supporting Gretchen in moving this project forward and treating this as an addendum or a second part of the project that's separate from the grants and the initial design.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Okay. So I would really, I think basically along what you just mentioned, I would like to see a joint memo from all the parties concerned, which is Water, Wayne, and the fire department, so that we have agreement between all the town departments that are impacted by this. And I guess that would be wastewater as well, making it a recommendation to the select board about what we're doing. It's getting tiring hearing different points of view about this project when there isn't mutual agreement. And I think in order for the select board to make a decision, we need to have everybody on the same page. And I don't see that at this point.
I'm just going to point out that mutual agreement, and we have been collaborating. So mutual agreement is not always possible. And at the end of the day, I see this commission making the actual decision. We'll
Right.
give you as much information as we can. We will show you where the agreement is, and we will show you where the difference of opinions, and that's what I'll call the difference of opinions would be. And at the end of the day, I see the commission making the decision.
That's fine, as long as we have the information we need to make a decision. So if there is a disagreement, we need an explanation from both parties to this agreement as to why the other party may be incorrect.
I'm not
We need
sure-
a guide, I
I'm
guess.
not sure.
We're just guiding this through.
Let me just, my personal opinion is, I'm not sure there's a correct or an incorrect. I think there's two competing opinions. And I also think that what we've always known from the very beginning is that there's risk in this project. It is not, there will be no perfection here. There's nothing perfect about it, but there's risk. Do we choose to take on this risk, which is what the goal was from the very beginning, to develop, to give that the opportunity to develop out on our commercial residential area, promoting business and housing and things of that nature. I think it's a risk worth taking, but it's not without risk.
No, I understand that. I mean, there's risk in any project. I just am disturbed at the amount of disagreement.
We will do our best.
And I'd like to get this done quickly. I mean, I realize, we have a grant and a bond. And so, if we need to meet quickly, I'm happy to do that.
Very good. Thank you, Wayne. We'll be in touch. Shall we move forward?
Let's go to the 1%.
I believe
Let's hear this, Jim. Okay.
I believe there's a group here that would like to talk to you about the 1% local option tax as it relates to the select board to possibly approve the purchase of a message board sign in the amount of $17,580.
I feel like someone's gonna make like a poop joke or something, make everyone better. So yeah, this is a request for a one of those highway message signs. You guys all know downtown Wilmington, amount of trucks and cars and stuff that come through downtown on a daily basis, sometimes exceed 25, but we have a lot of visitors downtown. In the past, the highway department and the police department have borrowed a sign from the highway department to put up saying there's a stroll going on or something of that nature, and it's extremely helped slowing down vehicles coming into town. So this is a 1% request to the town to purchase one. The Public Works is offering to store it and they can message it. And they would be for, events like strolls, the block parties. You guys can use it as well. Just really to get people to slow coming into downtown and make people aware of the traffic and the safety concerns.
As we're primarily east and west traffic through here, which end of the town are you putting it on? You only want one,
So highway owns one right now.
and you can use that.
So they use it for their construction projects, road closures. So I'm often after highway to let us reassign that message board for the economic events in town. So we use it borderline for a little advertising too. We have to be very careful because we'll run into AOT problems if we do that. But we often can put out a message on there like village stroll ahead this weekend, slow down. So we can incorporate a little bit of messaging on there. I'm assuming highway will still let us borrow theirs from time to time. So this one would complement that use. But it really was a collaborative effort here because I don't need a sign. The police department does not need to store, maintain, own, or really use that sign. I mean, there'll be a few public safety events a year, flood or something else where we could possibly use it. But really, we only use it
to facilitate safety around these events, for parking for like 4th of July fireworks, coordination like that. So in talking with Charlie, we realized that there really is a need for another one to get some more messaging around these events that the town holds in the village.
Thank you.
I mean, these little sandwich signs outside just don't do the trick. Do they? I had been reading through this and,
But your point is, it has to be a highway safety message incorporated
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
state
So,
highways.
right, as long as we're using it along a state highway, we can use it on town roads, town property to any message we deem fit, but highway will be careful with that. But we can factor that in, and that's how we've been using it without issue. We just, like Tony pointed out, we only had access to one, and that's only when it's not tied up. Yeah, I just think if anyone's driven.
I'll let Marshall take over.
Ready for a tug of war?
If anyone's driven through town lately on a Saturday and Sunday with no events going on, you know, we've got people not using crosswalks, anything like that. You add in the strolls, you add in a lot more. It's really a safety concern and also for the economics of the town. You know, more people hopefully can stop for strolls and block parties and so.
So you could use this sign that says, you know, road closed, bridge out. Sure.
That's not my push. Too early for that. You can make that joke in like 2 years.
So I just want to say I was in support of this. It was brought to me as an idea to get the quotes. I have no problems with them using our sign that we currently own. It was bought, ours was bought with grant. From what I understand, we bought it in 2016. They already, or Matt already borrows ours for all the events, fireworks, trick or treating, the parades. Well, we can only put it on one end of town because we only have one. And to go along with it, by them, 1% purchasing another one, us storing it and doing the little maintenance. Luckily, we haven't had to spend a lot of money to maintain them. They're pretty self-efficient. We'd be able to use them because we don't usually do big construction projects during holidays or during event things. So we would use it for Lake Raponda. We can only put one of our signs up. We have to make our own handmade signs to put on the other end. Now we could have two on both ends. So I do support this, and I am willing to move it and stuff like that for the use of it. And they can still use ours. That'd be more than just, that's what I want to say.
Thank you.
Can I ask, before you take off, I have a quick question, please? Why don't you just get a second sign rather than have two individually owned or?
Well, we're gonna own this one,
Okay, fine. Thank you.
is my understanding.
I think in the
Put the
past,
sign up there, no smoke and weed.
in the past, there have been grants, but there's no grants for this at this point.
Highway has removed message boards from grant programs. So we cannot use grant funds for those. The quote is not the least expensive one. However, it is it is identical to our existing sign, which is, it gives us ease of maintenance and use because they all have digital displays. You have to learn the computer systems, etc. And as Marshall pointed out, he's had good luck with this one. So we know it'll last.
This one also has the most character. Letters on the line, less characters. The sign's the same size, the letters are the same size.
Can I ask another stupid question, please? Would there be any chance you could rent this sign out to another, like a ski area or another town if needed? Where you could, would it be a trade thing or would it be income producing for the community, for the town? If somebody else needed the two signs simultaneously or we're not using them?
I would ask, I would go to Scott
Yeah,
and ask him. If somebody approached us and said, you know, we write your signs, I'm gonna go to him.
okay,
I'm not gonna make.
but it's a possibility.
It's a possibility, that maybe another town like Dover or
Yeah.
like if they had something happen, maybe they want to borrow it. But again, before I say yes to anything, I'm gonna talk to Scott.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of times it's mutual, you
Yeah.
know, one hand washes the other. They do something for us, we do something for
Yeah.
them, so.
It could help the whole community theoretically.
And I just wanted to, obviously, the chamber would love this as a resource. Our events are growing significantly over year. Our stroll last year for the wine harvest brought in almost 700 people. And so just having one sign is great, but when you've got kids flying across anywhere on West Main Street, people walking in from OSAC now, South Main, I think it would be a huge benefit for us. We definitely saw an impact at the chili stroll this year. We had almost 500 people. And even just having that one sign, you could tell traffic was starting to slow down. And I know like Ratu's and the Wilmington Inn and Green Mountain Squeeze, they're all trying to do more events, even if they're obviously the scale won't necessarily be as large as our strolls, but I think it'll just support that increase in activity that we're seeing downtown, which is a really positive thing. And I do apologize. I keep running through another. But thank you guys.
This is a full court press today, folks.
No, it's a collaborative, by the looks of it.
Actually, yeah, you can call it that, I guess. All right, anyone else have any questions? Obviously, it's for economic development. Right, Gretchen? All right. See, we're really covering all the bases here today.
Economic or community.
Well, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion. As written. I make a motion that the select board approve the purchase of a message board sign in the amount of $78,580.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of a message board in the amount of $17,580.
And that is from the 1% local option.
From the 1% fund. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
So now we can ask you what your sign is, right?
Wastewater truck, the sewer commission to possibly approve the purchase of a 2024
Something you
Dodge
said?
3500. Oh, sewer commission, sorry.
Do we need to go in the sewer commission for the truck? No. Okay, well, I move we go into the sewer commission. All those in favor say aye.
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 Sewer commission to possibly approve the purchase of a 2024 Dodge 3500 from Keene Chrysler in the amount of $84,400. John will outline that for you.
So we sent it out we asked for, we went to 8 different dealerships. We both sent it out and made contact verbally with them. Only got 2 back. One was Dodge and Keene, and one was Ford and Greenfield. After getting all as close as we could, apples to apples, the price, you see the price is only $615 difference. The biggest difference is Ford only offered $5,000 in trade. Keene offered $14,000. So we've had, the last truck was the Ford we've had for 10 years. Personally, we would like to try something different. We have had a little issues. Both of these trucks are 1-ton, single wheel, single rear wheel. The bodies are aluminum, so they're lighter. It's a shorter, it's not as tall as our existing one. That was our first utility body ever. We just determined we don't need one as tall. Yes, and do you have any questions? It's pretty straightforward. The warranties, the plows are basically pretty close. The Ford is a 9'6". The Boss is the Keene, the Dodge one is 9'2". The Ford doesn't make that much difference. We're all pretty close. We had asked that the body is going to be the holdup. I had asked to get it before November 1st. It sounds like it's going to be November, right around it. They can't guarantee. The last communication I had, they said it was looking like the second week of November. Still have a truck.
And John, you're satisfied with the Dodge?
Yes.
I'm looking at this comparison. I don't know the difference between race red and flame red.
They're right. It's nice, right? This is gonna be really similar to the fire department's Dodge.
Okay, all right. Just amazing at the.
I say I don't care what brand it is. They're all great with their new.
Well, they
never
all.
know
First 6 months are okay,
You
yeah.
you can blow it up in a year, who knows? But yes, we are happy with the Dodge. We would love to try it.
Okay, all right.
Who operates the vehicle?
Jeff and I, wastewater. We plow the plant and all of our pump stations. We have 6 external pump stations.
Okay, thank you.
We use it to tow our jetter, clean up sewer lines.
Someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the purchase of a 2024 Dodge 3500 from Keene Chrysler in the amount of $84,400.
Second.
All right, we have motion and second to approve the purchase of 2024 Dodge 3500 from Keene Chrysler in New Hampshire for the sewer commission. All those in favor, I'm sorry, for the sewer district. The amount of $84,400. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just one, I meant to tell you for capital account, there's $280,000 in our.
Okay,
I have an.
that's even better news.
I have a second question for after the vote. The purchase, sales and use purchase tax is subsequent to the purchase price of the vehicle, because it's from New Hampshire, if they included it in the price.
I believe all of the fees are included. I believe.
Okay,
everything is
I really-
included. Because the municipal, because it's municipal.
No tax on it? Thank you.
All right, I move we
Thank you,
come out
John.
of the sewer commission and go into the liquor commission. All those in favor say aye.
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 The Liquor Commission to possibly approve a manufacturer special event permit for Golden Rule Brew for an event at Art House, June the 28th from 4 to 7 p.m.
South Main Street.
Chief, you're aware of that, correct? All right. All right. So I'll move to approve the manufacturer's special event permit for the Golden Rule Brew, which for an event at the Art House on June 28th from 4 to 7. That's on South Main Street.
Our house is on South Main, yes.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I don't think we had a second.
Second it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Tony seconded later on. Okay. All right, I move we come out of the liquor commission. All right, so moved.
Aye.
Superintendent Dix.
Aye.
You were getting there.
If you weren't aware, Superintendent Dix is with us today.
Oh, I didn't see him.
The select board to possibly approve an additional $27,653.62 to pave Sheer Hill with Allstate Construction, and he will explain it.
This was the award that we were going to use Peckham with, was it?
Yeah, so let's make sure we clarify. It's not pavement, it's oil and stone. It's the stuff we're trying. It's about a third of the cost of black.
Know who he's looking at here, okay?
It says pave, so
Yeah, I know. I read that too, but I'll just clarify it. So we do, it is oil and stone.
Is this
It's
like
not.
chip and seal stuff that we
Yeah,
had
oil,
before?
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It
Yes.
gets hard as it
Yes,
drive
it would
on
be
it, yeah.
as
about
promised.
a couple inches thick, roughly inch and a half thick is what the final layer comes out to be of hard, just like blacktop. It's just different materials, not as thick. So we voted on this a little over a year ago to have Peckham do it. Peckham's having driver issues. Weather last year, they couldn't do it during the season that they were supposed to do it. There's only for this application, there's a short window of time they can do it. They can't have drivers, they don't have drivers enough. Something about crossing state lines, I do know a lot about it, but I'm not gonna try to explain it all with different trucks. Because it's all commercial stuff. They don't have portion plates. Plus, they're in a union over there. And so their rates change when they come to Vermont and they don't have drivers that will do it. And some of the cost savings was we were gonna haul the material. Allstate won't allow us to haul the material because it's already in their trucks and they gotta have their truck to put it out.
Yeah.
So that's a little different. Plus, like I said, it's been over a year. It's $2 a square yard. More is from what they bid last year is what it comes out to be.
And they're a current vendor this year.
And this year they have our paving bid. So I think maybe you might slightly remember last year, we would have gave them this option last year, but we didn't want them to do our paving because their paving was a lot more. And he came and got mad because of the way that the town wrote the bid, or the way I wrote the bid. I can't blame the town. I wrote the bid.
You are,
So I learned a lot.
you are the town.
Yes, I am the town, but I wrote the bid wrong. He didn't like the way I wrote it. And so he wouldn't separate one from the other. This year, they have our paving bid. This year, they're willing to do our well stone again. They want to do it at the end of July, middle to end of July. It'll be one day, possibly into a second day, but it'll be all done. and over with. So we have money in the paving budget between the paving coming in lower than it was. And we were able, because I didn't spend the money out of 2024's physical budget, and they did some of our paving, we're gonna pay the paving, and we have money enough, is what I'm trying to spit out.
Did they do Stowe Hill? Just
Stowe Hill is
recently?
done.
Yeah, they just did that, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and they did it early, so by them doing the paving earlier than they're supposed to, we owe them money already, and they know they weren't supposed to get paid until after July. So we're gonna pay part of that bill to use my budget that was supposed to be used for Sherry Hill, and then we'll be
Sure,
using.
next year, we're flip flopping
Yeah, we're flip flopping around.
on the
If-
projects.
It's just a.
It's a budgetary sleight of hand.
Yep.
The Sherry Hill Road can get soggy along through there, correct?
It can,
How long will this product last, do you anticipate?
they anticipate, and I'm hoping as well, because so it ain't totally new to the town, but they anticipate at least 6 years before we need to start patching it or any type of work to it.
And it will overall improve the sogginess.
Yes, because you're not getting the water penetrating from down. You're not breaking the surface. So some of the groundwater will stay underneath.
It's a bit of an experiment too,
Yeah.
isn't it? We're gonna see how this actually works.
The first
The
time-
first section of Sherry Hill had this done 10, 12 years ago, probably. 15 years ago.
Almost
Okay.
20 years ago.
Wow, that many years.
It's time's going by. So
And it's worked out well.
they've changed it to blacktop over time. So it lasted on that steep hill and dark where there's not a lot of sun. It lasted roughly 7 years before they started having issues. The reason they say this actually has the potential to last a lot longer is this is a flat road. Very minimum curves, and there's only a little bit of a hill down by where Sarah
Your
lives.
Grant Road.
Yeah, so they think it's gonna last a lot longer. I have 3 towns that if we do this, they're gonna stand and watch because they want to see it done, because they're looking at wanting to do something different.
So how far down the hill are you paving? Past Grant Road?
We're not going past, we have to stop.
They don't
Stop
own
at
that
Grant-
Grant
and
Road.
that's
It's
Marlboro.
Marlboro.
But Marlboro's Road.
Can you talk to
Boston-
Marlboro about improving Sherry Hill a little?
So they want to be there.
I think the officials will do that shortly.
I hope so.
Is that where you're biking these days?
That's one place I buy. You
So-
go down to the pond and it's just like,
So Marlboro will be there to see this be done. They want to see it be done. Halifax will be there. Dover wants to come down. The towns want to see how it's put down. They want to see the road, obviously. I mean, they all bet on it, but they would like to see what it's being put down over. And they want to watch to see what happens. Marlboro would like to do some improvements too. And they have, I give the new road foreman, he's doing a lot, and he's trying very hard. Sometimes it takes a long time to change old ways.
Grant Road was just graded. It's beautiful right now, just so you know.
That's what I'm looking for here, is your blessings to basically change vendor, and it is costing a little more, so I want that to be upfront.
I don't think we have a choice about changing vendors.
We don't have a choice. That is another thing. There's not many companies that do this, and most of them won't come here. It's too far. Massachusetts is the next town that comes up, and they wouldn't bid on it last time.
You need a motion, sir?
We do, yes.
I make a motion, the select board approve an additional $27,653.62 to pave Sherry Hill
not to
Road.
pave.
Thank you.
I'm not to pave to improve Sherry Hill Road with the mixture as indicated by Allstate Construction.
A second,
Second.
all right.
Can't second my
We have a
motion.
we have a motion that you
Somebody
can't
else
do
second.
both.
Second.
So thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve an additional $27,653.62 to improve the Sherry Hill Road area with Allstate Construction. All those in favor say aye.
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 I'm abstaining.
You
I
are.
live on that road, so I feel like I
Well,
should
you know they're
vote.
doing it for you. Come on.
Yeah, I know, a bridge, a road.
I
what the
know,
heck.
holy cow.
Highway truck rebuild. This is a change of vendor to Reed Truck Services. No difference in money. So we just want to get your blessing. Marcia will explain this one.
All right, so we're back to, and I know you guys are probably sick of this, but I think you guys all understand labor force is hard. The company that originally agreed to do the whole truck lost some of his help. He's gonna downsize to do body work only. Reed Truck Service is an international dealer. He actually purchases a lot of parts from him, Roseledge, the one that originally got the bid. And he called me right up and just threw it out the window, more or less, said, I can't do your truck, I'm sorry, I'm not taking your truck. And having it so that you can't have it for winter. So I thanked him for that much. He called me back within a couple of days and said, I was having a very bad day. I need to step back. I'd like to talk to my international vendor and see if maybe they would work with me on this. He did. Scott Reed from Reed International called me up. They wanted to come look at the truck. They looked at the truck. They are very happy to take on the work. They will be doing all the mechanical work on the truck, and Roseledge company will still be doing all the body work on the truck. By doing that, they should be able to complete the truck faster because they're gonna take, the truck's actually gonna go to Roseledge first, take the body, some of the stuff off it. They're gonna do the body work on that, and they're gonna take the cab and chassis up to his place and do all the mechanical work, send it back down, finish painting, it'd be all back together. They looked it over themselves. They didn't see nothing wrong with the first estimate. They can hold that price. If there is any problems as things go along, they'll reach out, keep us in the loop, so we're not all of a sudden getting a big bill, or there's a possibility it's gonna cost less, which I would love to say that's what's gonna happen, but we know that's probably not true. But he said he didn't see a problem holding the place. And the reason he wants to be first, so we're not gonna write 2 checks, we're gonna write 1 check to Reed. The reason being is if it's the other way around, the warranty goes to Roseledge for all international labor is covered at any international dealership and parts. It goes to Roseledge instead of the town of Wilmington. So it's more of a paperwork thing to change who's paid. You look like a man with questions.
No, I understand.
It's almost like a soap opera with them coming in here, isn't it?
I think if everyone's happy, general consent is fine for us.
Right, right, that's good, let's do it.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry that we're having these little issues. This seems like a tough year for me.
Can I ask you, how's Lake Raponda coming?
Lake Raponda is now finished. Highly seeded. It's all, the grass is all seeded. The ditches are done. The road is graded end to end. It come out. I'm very pleased. We were able, in front of those houses that sat right on the road. I don't know if you knew exactly where we're doing the road construction, but there's a few houses that sit right on it. On average, we're 4 inches lower. The road's 4 inches lower to help with water running into their dooryard. So that, I think they'll be very pleased. I had no complaints this year.
Oh, good.
I didn't get any phone calls this year.
Only 2 people.
It's good.
And one guy walks all over this town. I have no problems with him. He come walking into the work site and I was nice to him. He walked right up to me and I asked him if he see the sign. He said no. And then he said, he lives on Mountain View, so I know where he lives and everything. He walked down the trail. He didn't walk down the road and came in. We let him through and I just asked him not to do it during work hours again. And he was very good. We didn't see him again. We had one car that come right up to us and told us those signs do not mean nothing to him. So I explained to him our trucks mean a lot.
Oh, it's amazing, the attitude.
But other than that, I truly had no complaints. I'm thankful.
It's excellent.
I didn't have a lot of traffic trying to come through. Again, we're gonna be working on Parsons Road, right off of the blacktop of Sherry Hill. We're gonna do the same thing we did on Lake Raponda, just a smaller section and a narrower section where we have a lot of mud. If you travel that at all, you know that just off blacktop, we've gotten our truck stuck more than once right there. So we have some material left from the Lake Road project that we're gonna do that section for the next, we put 2 weeks up there and I called the one house that it's gonna affect, because there's only one house in that little stretch that we're doing. It's a rental. I already called him, talked to him personally. So he knows that we're working there. He don't have no rentals right now anyway, so he's fine.
Who cut all the trees, sir?
The trees down below,
Yeah,
we did last year.
you didn't get any grief.
No, they're actually so if I understand this right, Singer is the property owner there and he's passed away.
Michael is very passionate about his maple trees.
He's passed away.
Michael passed away?
Yeah, but we cut him before he passed away.
Yeah.
You don't think it was?
That's the way to get things done. You wait for him to pass away. There you go. I didn't know Michael died.
The trees we cut were very dead.
Many months.
And the people that live below there down in I call it Crawfordville.
Yeah.
They didn't
That
like
is
them.
right. Some was down there.
Yeah.
Some was 90 something.
Yeah.
They didn't like those trees sticking in the middle of the road either.
No.
So what we're doing with the material that we dig out of that road is we're bringing it down. They're pulling the last stump today. And we're gonna fill that in and widen
Okay,
that road, so
okay.
it's a normal width road. Instead of being one car wide in a couple spots, it'll be a straight line down through there.
What are we, 28 feet wide or wider?
Yeah, the road width will be 20 feet,
20 feet.
20 foot road width. and it'll
Okay.
be Shoulder.
Oh, no, I'm just thinking about Michael because we were in court on that one.
We called him. I did call him and he told me I had to deal with Scott property.
Oh,
He's
okay.
the one that was overseeing all the properties. He was gone a lot to, I think, Florida's when I talked to him, he was in Florida. And so we talked to Scott, we got permission, we cut the trees, and then this spring, I think he passed away is when I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, that's where they mandated the town go through Act 250 to take the trees down. That was years ago. And Michael was adamant he wasn't gonna let those trees go. So it was, but I did not know he had passed.
Well,
I used to deal with him all the time.
Two of the trees, we could stand inside the trees because they're rotten in the middle.
Yeah,
So, and they didn't have power lines, so we cut them down. They took the firewood themselves right there. So it was great.
Thank you, Marshall.
Thank you.
Cleaned up.
Got my last one on there?
That is.
And your sign is up at the top of the hill, so.
Yeah, my sign's
Sign,
there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly. A second one would be nice because it would be down at the town line. Actually, I'd bring
On
it
the
down
other
to
side,
Whiteham
yeah.
So people can see it, because that's gonna be the bigger difficulty. So I gotta make a handmade sign, stick it up, and nobody's gonna read it. Luckily, it's lost track. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank you, Marshall. Under other business, I would like your blessing to sign the renewal for economic development consultant agreement with Gretchen with a 5% increase, same as we gave everyone this year for this coming year.
So you need a motion?
I would just like general consent and
No, it's just, yeah.
I'll sign the contract.
Let's just do it.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. I do not, but thank you very much.
I have something other business, Scott.
That was the other business.
Can we go on from there?
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
I think on item number 2, I think it might be appropriate to call it the sewer line extension recommendations. We already got so much going on with SDRs.
Somebody pointed that out to me.
Well, now 2 people have.
Someone pointed out. Thank you very much. Okay. Last is our executive session.
Oh,
Nice seeing you,
I'm
Chris.
sorry. I'm looking at Michael's, no, I knew Michael for years. I moved to find it premature general public knowledge of discussions with the town's council involving confidential attorney-client communications concerning pending litigation involving the town and to consider a settlement agreement and the matter of Titlebaum versus the town of Wilmington et al. Would clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage. All right. Do we have a-
Chris, would you
we have a
kick
second?
that door shut when you go by, please? Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, then I move to go into executive session under 1 VSA 313 A1E and F. Wait, that's F's a new one, huh? To discuss the settlement agreement with the attorney Carroll and the town manager Tucker. We have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I let the attorney write these, could you tell?
Well, you know what? Good job. Good job.
Give us just give us a minute, Jim.
All right, we move to come out of executive session. And I'm going to make a motion as a result of our executive session. I move the select board hereby ratify and approve the comprehensive settlement terms dated June 11th, 2024. Reached through an early neutral evaluation, which is an alternative dispute resolution, and the Titlebaum versus the Town of Wilmington, case number 223 CV 88, U.S. District Court for the District of Vermont, subject to final approval of all settlement documents by the town's appointed counsel, and the town appoint James Carroll Esquire as its agent for the town to take all steps necessary to effectuate the settlement as stated within the settlement terms. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, I'm not going to read the entire thing again, folks, okay? All those in favor of approving the settlement with Mr. Titlebaum by the town of Wilmington, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Can I also have a motion of adjournment? All right, and a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Could you turn off your microphones, folks?
Absolutely.